Bray Falls is a 27-year-old American astrophotographer who is making history in the world of astrophotography, collaborating and achieving several discoveries of deep sky objects, such as the oxygen arc of the Andromeda Galaxy, a well-known galaxy photographed thousands of times by the amateur community. The discovery team need more than 108 hours of exposure time with the oxygen filter to capture this faint structure. Bray Falls is also fully involved in his Starfront project in the Texas area, where he offers hosting for remote telescopes, already counting more than 300 individual setups. At his young age, and by his own achievements, Bray has managed to establish himself as a global reference in the world of astrophotography and was invited to the 26th convention of the Sabadell Astronomical Association, the most important astronomical club in Spain. So we had the opportunity and the honor of spending a few days with him. Buenos días, estamos ya en el aeropuerto de Barcelona, a punto de recoger a Bray Falls.
Aleix Roig, astrofotógrafo, coordinador del grupo de astrofotografía de la agrupación astronómica de Sabadell y director de contenidos del Parque Astronòmic Montañas de Prades.
Que viene de Estados Unidos para participar en la convención de la agrupación astronómica de Sabadell. En breves instantes ya estamos con él y nos vamos directos hacia Prades. Hey, Bray, how are you? Nice to meet you. Sorry. Yeah. Hey, we are in Prades now with Bray Falls. It's been quite a long trip here to Prades, but we are right now at Prades at 1,000 meters above sea level, and we are getting Bray installed to our home. We are going to visit our observatory and also Parque Astronòmic Montañas de Prades, and believe me, Bray is here with us, so you will see him. Please say hello.
Hello, Bray here. Jet lagged, but very excited to finally be here. This is my guitar. Is this Jamón Serrano? Yeah, it's heavy. I did not expect it to be this heavy, but
So now is the moment that Bray Falls is going to cut a jamón serrano. Va a cortar un jamón serrano. That's an important moment. Have you ever done this?
no, this is my first time.
Your first time?
Yeah.
It's something very typical from here, so up to you. Is that what we gave that responsibility to Bray? Because for us it's something very important. So
I feel the pressure.
yeah, you can feel the pressure.
I understand it.
Okay.
Yeah. This isn't
And
so
you can
bad.
play like this, like a violin, up and down, and like that. Yeah. And with your other hand, you can hold the pad. Yeah. Okay. You are doing your first cut of a jamón serrano.
Am I doing good?
You are doing good, yeah. And that's a trophy. That's a big trophy.
A trophy?
Yeah.
I get to take this home with me?
And now we leave the rest of the job for the specialist, Georgina. Georgina, you are doing the rest of the cutting. She is the master of jamón serrano. Okay, right, great. With this jamón serrano, we will also have a natural wine from Conca de Barberà. It's from the cellar Vega i Xalà. This wine is called Emma. It's a Grenache and Cabernet Sauvignon. It's very nice, fruity, and I think it will be a good match with jamón serrano. We will try it later.
I'm excited.
Okay. Okay. And then we only were able to see just a small glimpse of the auroras, the red color, and good wine.
Cheers.
Roig sobressada from Balearic Islands. A party of the champagne, Catalan champagne is called cava. Chin chin.
Cheers.
For astrophotography.
Yes. This is my first authentic bread with tomato. Is it Catalan?
Yeah.
Catalan, yeah.
Coulant de chocolate de la pastissería Viñas de Montblanc, de los mejores que habréis probado. Salud.
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 Buenísimo. Es very
good.
Es very good.
Yeah.
Somos afortunados de tener a Bray Falls estos días con nosotros. La verdad es que viene de un viaje a Nueva Zelanda y también de la boda de su hermana. O sea, es impresionante que estos días haya podido organizarse para visitarnos en la convención de astronomía de Sabadell. Y lo tenemos también aquí en Prades pasando pues una noche para que descubra el territorio. Hemos hablado también de qué experiencia pensaba tener ¿no? en su primera visita a España, y la verdad es que nos ha dicho que está agradecido de poder conocer un entorno rural. Y pues así es, estamos en Prades, en uno de los sitios más bonitos, y bueno, yo creo que esta noche tendremos también pues un eclipse de luna que él ya nos ha comentado que lo va a registrar en remoto. Da un buen tiempo en Texas, por lo tanto es una buena oportunidad. Y nada, un gran placer tener a Bray Falls con nosotros, que ha hecho un hueco en su agenda y lo tenemos pues durante 3 días. Okay. Okay, so let's see the observatory. This was a monochrome image. It's not for sure my best image of a comet, but it's the image that I have taken more time into processing, like more than 2 days.
Yeah.
And I captured the field of galaxies like the previous days, and then I took the image of the comet. And it's also mosaic of 2 panels. So I have it.
That's cool. We don't have we have some security cameras like this, but not inside the building.
And here we have also the seeing monitor as medium that we can have. We have better nights like below. Okay, so welcome to the Astrocat Observatory. It's cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Two OAGs.
Yeah.
I use one shot color and 2 monochrome, but I decided I do.
Wow, that's amazing.
I tried the QE.
As I told you, I have both skills and I have a space in the middle just to install the guiding, controlling the mode, and the other is air, just 2 controls, and remove the fogs or anything else. So I normally use like a flat glass. Yeah, it broke because of purpose. Okay, Bray, so now I think it's time to go to Prades Astronomical Park, so I can show you our facility there, a planetarium, and the activities we do there.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go. Okay, Bryce, so welcome to Astronomical Park.
You got the planetarium in here.
Yeah, you're really welcome.
How did you fit this in here?
How did I fit, or how did we fit? We just removed part of the ceiling and then we just enter panel by panel the planetarium. If you have a look inside, well, we have like 22 chairs, and yeah, we have different shows here. We can enter later here if you want, but I would like to show you, Major Cap, I would like to show you the Hypatia room. Is this one?
Oh wow.
And this is where we have the shows.
Very cool.
And the lateral screens are inspired by the chapter 1 of Cosmos from Carl Sagan. It's the spacecraft of the dreams.
Yeah.
It's the same shape, if you realized. And
cool.
we are just projecting some of the images that we have been gathering. This was from Namibia, this from Tromsø, Norway, and other images from the fjords, and also images from Prades, and yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, here we have like the shows, like the astronomy shows.
Yeah, it looks like a spaceship in here with the...
Yeah, when you close the doors and you just create this atmosphere, and then the show starts. We also have and this is from Namibia. I don't know if it is playing.
Aleix Roig, reconocido escultor.
By him, by Gerard Marçal. And yeah, let me give you a small, more in the focus time, so that's something. Buenos días, pues empezamos un nuevo día con Bray Falls. Hoy ya tendremos la charla de Bray en la convención. De hecho, esta tarde es la inauguración de la convención. Y ahora estábamos planificando un poco la jornada y también el día de mañana para tener justamente todos los puntos ordenados. A continuación iremos a hacer la entrevista en el Parque Astronómico Montañas de Prades para poder pues, conversar un poco con Bray y hablar de astrofotografía y de otros temas. Por tanto, nos vemos en un rato. So here we have like the Spanish schedule for today. Estamos aquí en la sede del Parque Astronómico Montañas de Prades y tenemos a Bray Falls, uno de los astrofotógrafos más importantes a nivel mundial, que se ha desplazado de Estados Unidos directamente a España para poder asistir a la convención de la agrupación astronómica de Sabadell. Con él vamos a compartir algunos de los temas más candentes de la astrofotografía y hablaremos de procesado, de su background, digamos, como astrofotógrafo, cómo se inició y finalmente también los retos de futuro que nos abre el mundo de la astrofotografía. Pues nada, empezamos ya con esta fantástica entrevista con Bray Falls. Welcome, Bray, to the Astronomical Park of Prades. And we would like to know exactly how you get introduced into astronomy, and maybe you had some relatives that introduced you into this field?
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I got into astronomy kind of on my own. I just was on Reddit one night when I was maybe 13 years old, and I saw that you could see Jupiter's moons through a pair of binoculars. And I was like, no way, this seems a bit too far-fetched for me. So I got my dad's binoculars and I went outside, and then I saw all the Galilean moons, which I had never seen before in my whole life. And I was like, wow, this is insane. I need to take a photo of this ASAP so I can show people what I'm seeing. And so I got out my cell phone and I held it up to the binoculars and tried to take a photo, and it was pretty bad. So okay. I got a telescope and then I slippery slope from there.
Okay.
Yep.
And that was not that long ago because you are quite young. You are less than 30, under 30 now.
Yeah, now I'm 27. That was when I was 13 or so, 8th grade of middle school. So a fair amount of time ago, but yeah.
Okay. And was the astrophotography on your focus when you start, or mostly what you said, no? The aim to share these images with other people?
Yeah, I think astrophotography was kind of the focus at the start because I was just trying to share it with people from the beginning. But I only had access to like visual astronomy at the time because it was affordable to me being in middle school still.
Okay, and what was your first astrophotography setup there?
It would be an iPhone 8, I think, and a pair of binoculars. The next scope I got after that was a an Orion Star Blast 4.5-inch Newtonian on the little like manual hand turn EQ mounts, and a Sony Power Shot that I had with a little afocal mount that held it up to the eyepiece. And that was pretty terrible. But once I was 16 and I was able to get a job, then I was able to do my first actual setup, which was like a Canon T3i with a 70-200 lens, and I had an Astro tracker, like barn door tracker type thing.
Okay.
And I used that for a number of years, just doing like wide field or 200 millimeter focal length images of objects.
Well, it's interesting that you start working at 16 years old. So nowadays, young people sometimes start working a bit later. So just, what was your first job?
I bagged groceries at a grocery store.
Okay.
And pushed carts back. Yeah.
Okay, and that founded the first telescope or astrophotography setup.
Yeah. I spent all my money on that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, astrophotography is a very demanding discipline, sometimes with harsh weather and difficult conditions. What has been the biggest obstacle you have faced, and how did you overcome it during all these years?
Gotcha. I would say the hard nights, like and the cold, are kind of part of it, and I kind of enjoy those things. Like it's all part of the experience, but the hardest thing is affording stuff, especially to start in astrophotography, and like having to work to pay for equipment is probably the least enjoyable and most challenging aspect up front. So yeah, like I was saying, I worked like bagging groceries when I was 16. I tutored in physics and math for a while, and I worked as an engineer for a bit. But I suppose, my experience in astrophotography is a little different because I do it full time, and like finding a way to make money to pay for gear from astrophotography is probably the most challenging part of astro for me.
Okay, more challenging than the weather conditions, you say, no? Okay. And let's talk about your discoveries. How many nebulae have discovered until now by 2025? And if you could tell us a little bit about the discovery process. What's your pipeline on the discovery process, or what's the planning we are doing about it?
Yeah, I don't have a count for how many I've found. I think it's like in the 20s at this point, but I'm not exactly sure. It's tough to keep track of because not all of them get listed officially somewhere, which is a part of the struggle of the workflow. But usually for me, the way I go about finding stuff is I do O3 surveys. So I'll pick a chunk of the sky, I'll do like a giant grid, and then I'll spend maybe a month or two taking survey images over this whole grid. And then I'll look through it, I'll see if I have maybe a weird blob here or there. Then I'll go and research the blob in a tool like Aladdin, or I'll check some databases like CDS or Hash, just to kind of learn like, if there's a blob, what is it doing there? Does it have a reasonable explanation, or is it known about beforehand? And then after all that research, I decide like, okay, this is maybe worth throwing some more exposure time at, and then I'll go ahead and capture anywhere from like 60 to 400 hours on that one spot. And then I'll make a finished image, and then I'll kind of go back, do more research, and like double check, did anyone know about this beforehand? If not, then I finally go forward and then I post it. You used to be able to send in objects, you still can, to pnnet.com, which is ran by Pascal Ledoux, and he catalogs amateur planetary nebula discoveries, but it has to be like a verifiable planetary nebula that fits his estimation of what one is. And a lot of the things that you'll find if you go O3 surveying like me don't necessarily fit the bucket of a planetary nebula. And so he won't necessarily catalog things easily anymore. So you have to do spectroscopy to like fully confirm the nature of an object nowadays if you want him to actually catalog it. Otherwise, you just kind of share it and you say, hey, there's this new thing I found. It looks pretty cool. You could also go and get a paper written about something as well, which is a lot more difficult to do, but is the only other valid way to like officiate a discovery. And we've done that for some supernova remnants, but I largely don't do it for anything else I find because I'm just in it to take pretty photos of something new and not so much the papers.
Okay, so I guess that you use like these wide fields rigs that are very fast, I guess under F3, just to guess where these patches of nebulosity or inedited nebulosity are. and then you focus your other telescopes, or maybe you can start a collaboration with other people, or you use your own setup at Starfront or Namibia, Hakos, all your different locations.
Yeah, so it starts with the wide field scopes, usually the 135 camera lens, or also sometimes the small refractors that I use. It depends, because when you look for something with a 135 millimeter camera lens, oftentimes you lose it to star deletion. So you could cover the whole sky, but you won't know that you found everything because you could be missing things just due to how you would isolate an object.
Yep.
So it's worth going back and doing the whole sky at deeper and deeper focal lengths to look for things. But yeah, once I find something, then it kind of depends like how busy other people are, if it's something that requires a multi-person collaboration, like the supernova remnant microscopium, the very large one. I shot it for like 200 hours on my own from Chile and Namibia, and then we decided like after 1 year it wasn't enough just me doing it, and so we collaborate with more people so we can get more exposure time and hopefully get a better image by the end of it. But it depends on the target, really.
Yeah, it's exciting nowadays that an amateur astronomer can discover never explored nebulas, even they are planetary nebulas or supernova remnants. I think it's quite exciting, and it opens a field for the astronomy or amateur astronomy community. And it also shows the potential of the amateur astronomy community, especially according to the collaborations, right? You have gathered, I guess, like 1,000 hours on M33. That for me was mind-blowing, that project, because I also gathered some data on that galaxy, and I was able to just discover a small nebula. And I said, okay, thanks, Brian, all your team for Starfront, that you did that huge like 1,000 hours, because sometimes you consider just to go farther and deeper, and maybe you are losing time, no? So if I had to invest my telescopes 1,000 hours, I would be still doing that, and for many years more. So
yeah, you know the point to call it quits. But it might be 2,000 hours now, you know, you never know.
Wow.
Yeah, we had 26 people working on that for like 2 months we shot. So yeah, that was a lot of data to stack.
I think that was amazing and inspiring work, so congrats to all the team on that.
You.
So I would ask you, Bray, which is the discovery that you are more proud of, so among all those you have done?
I would probably say that the supernova remnant and microscopium I'm probably the most proud of, partially because the way I ran into it was completely random. It was between shots that I was doing from Namibia, and I didn't know what to look at, so I just picked a random spot of dust that I thought looked cool, and I shot it at 135 for like 6 hours or so, and then I stacked it the next morning, and I was like, what's going on here? There's something very weird in my frame. So it's interesting because it was like a complete accident that I bumped into it. And I guess for all the objects I find, it's largely a complete accident that I run into them because I don't know that they're there and I'm just randomly searching. But that one was a bit more random than the others. And the structure of it was really unlike anything else we've seen before. So I'm just super proud to have found like a really unique object like that. It's a very special one to me.
Great. So beyond technique and science, what do you feel when capturing the beauty of the universe? Is there any celestial object that has a special meaning for you, and why?
I think they all kind of have a special meaning. I really like anything that's new the most, especially when I edit it. Those are always like the most special moments to me because it's like I get to be the first person to edit something for the first time, and it's like a very special and close relationship to have with an object that you get to be the very first person to make a photo, and it's the thing I look forward to the most is getting the chance to edit those objects or capture them.
Yeah, I think that's a real exciting thing, not to be the first one to just process that data. And previously you told us about the spectrum, the spectrum to do spectrography. about the newly discovered planetary nebula, just to confirm and know the nature of these objects. So are you collaborating with professional astronomers to ask for observation time with professional telescopes, or how do you handle that part of the discovery?
Most of it's amateurs. There is one professional astronomer I work with relatively frequently. His name's Robert Feason at Dartmouth. He studies supernova remnants. So he has access to larger scopes like Kitt Peak, the Mayall telescope there, which is, I think, a 4-meter prime focus telescope. So he uses that one frequently to do spectra. Apart from that, it's like mostly amateur spectroscopers, like Daniel Stern. We're working on a planetary nebula right now, and he has his own spectrograph that's just on his scope in Chile, and so he's able to do the science aspects as well. So I don't use too many professionals or work with too many professionals other than Robert to do things, just because I'm more in it for the photo than so much the science aspect, because it takes so much time. You know, I'm specialized on the one thing. Yeah, I would like to get into spectroscopy eventually, but
really,
yeah, it would be fun, I think.
Great. Yeah, especially if you want to write a paper, as you said, you need to get in contact normally to a research institute or an astronomer that can help with this work. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay. So now let's talk about your professional profile and Starfront, the project that you start. So I would say, what's your professional background and which kind of jobs have you had? You told us about your first job, but which ones are the jobs that you had before just getting or going professional into astronomy?
Yeah, so before I went to college, I just had normal jobs like tutoring. I worked at a coffee shop for a bit, not so practical for Starfront. I did go to school for aerospace engineering, and I worked as an aerospace engineer for a year, working on propulsion controls for a helicopter. And after a year of that, I quit, and I've been doing astro full-time for about 3 years now since then. So I've really only had one other professional job apart from Starfront.
Right. So you are very young in a hobby that apparently involved middle-aged people. What would you say are the keys of your success, both professional with Starfront and the level of astrophotography you achieved in your work? And what would be the advice you would give to someone that is just getting a start into astrophotography?
Yeah, I would say my main advantage is just that I was young and I stuck to one thing for a long time. I think for most people, like being successful at astrophotography or any of that stuff, it's an issue of barriers, like cost barriers and time, because it's very time expensive, and doing the hobby at all takes a lot of time and a lot of money. So it's just all those barriers, and the longer you have to stick to it, then the more chances you are of accomplishing more within the hobby. And that's, I think, why you see a lot of older middle-aged men, is because they have more time and more resources to get over all of those barriers, whereas not a lot of younger people do, and you just have to kind of stay dedicated to the one thing. And I think that's the one thing I was able to do well, but I've certainly had a lot of help. Like my parents would drive me out to dark skies all the time. And I'm certainly not alone at Starfront either. Like the business aspect and all of those other things, we have a really great team, and it's not just me. So it's all the things I'm bad at, those gaps get filled in with other people who are experts in their own field, and I can kind of excel at what I want to do, which is the photography aspect.
Okay, for sure you are creating a great team and for a great project, but before jumping into that content, I would like to ask you, what do you feel about the gender? We see some women practicing astrophotography, but not that many. So why do you think there is this kind of barrier in gender? We know that many of the STEM or the science engineering careers, we have less women there, but in astrophotography, what do you think, the feeling of the gender barrier?
Yeah, well, there's more barriers as a girl because it's not very safe as a girl to go solo, to go take photos in dark skies.
Okay.
So I think that's a lot of it. It's just not practical. There's that extra hoop of needing someone to be there, whereas us as guys, we can just go to the middle of nowhere and take photos however we want. Yeah, and I think just the field of astrophotography in general kind of falls under the same like science barrier that also is kind of a demographic thing that you see with women being less, you know, it falls under that umbrella of less of the population into it. But I think definitely being able to go out and take pictures is a big part.
Okay, we hope as society we move forward and we can have a safer environments that women can feel safe to practice astrophotography. That will be our wish for the next decade at least. And about your business, Starfront Observatories, how can someone with your profile do such a project that involves many engineering skills, business management, etc.? So what about your team? What about the skills that your team have? And what are you offering now? So you can tell us a little bit more about our Starfront project.
Yeah, sure. So we have a pretty big team of people that like are able to do things where I'm not such an expert like business or planning, all of those types of things. So we co-founded the project together with me, Dustin, and Josh. And Dustin and Josh have a ton of experience building businesses and startups. So this is my first time building a business like this, but I did have a lot of experience with remote imaging, both from my own remote scopes and visiting remote places. I kind of had an idea of how things would go and how to like make it more available to the general market. And they also had the same idea. So we kind of partnered together on that and we're able to mix our skills together. Not just them though, we have a broader team of people that can do a lot of stuff like Hero, our networking guy. I don't understand how the internet works and all of our complex networking, like our floor is covered with Ethernet cables and I don't know how the internet works. I just plug in the cable into the scope and then it works. And we have Nathan as well on site full time, and he didn't do astronomy at all to begin with. He moved out without any prior experience, and now he's like technically one of the best people at setting up telescopes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Nowadays, I guess you are nowadays having like more than 300 setups there?
Yeah, we have like 320 telescopes now, I think, on site. Yeah,
wow.
So
that's quite big.
Yeah.
That's a lot to handle, yeah.
Yeah.
And about like your hobby and your profession, no? So, and your career now. Your work in astrophotography, have you managed to merge your passion with your profession, and how do you maintain the balance between both aspects, and how do you prevent professional pressure from affecting your enjoyment of the astrophotography as a hobby?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't think there is a balance.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something I think about a lot because I sometimes worry about getting burnt out, but it's like, it's been my life for over half my life and I still love it. So I'm not sure if balance, I think I do strike a way to find balance in things I do. Like I introduce other hobbies sometimes into my life if I feel like doing something technical. Like I like working on my motorbike engine or gardening. So I kind of engage in other things to kind of keep myself fresh for astrophotography. But yeah, I think I just really like editing photos and like the creative aspect of astrophotography. And even if I feel drained, if I get a chance to sit down and edit, I'm like revitalized because it's my favorite part. Okay, and have you experienced ups and downs during all these years of hobby? Yeah, certainly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just kind of have to take it in context, I think. You can't be up and up forever. Like there's going to be downs, and it's exciting to have it down because then you know it's going to be up again at some point. Yeah. So it all goes in cycles, and you just gotta kind of take it as it comes. Yeah. And yeah, no, it's all going to work out. So. And don't be obsessed maybe if you are not as motivated or as engaged as you were like a few months ago. Maybe you will get more engaged in a near future. You know? So I think that if you are feeling as something natural, these ups and downs, hobby makes things easier. Yeah, I definitely have like a creative battery for like making images or wanting to do astro. It goes in cycles, but I just I like to my resting pace to be like a walk instead of a standstill, you know, so I'm always kind of making progress forward instead of being stagnant where I'm at. So okay, Bray, let's talk about image processing.
involving all your discoveries, you are handling data with lots of noise, and normally we in astrophotography have to deal with noise. So what's your processing approach to deal with all that noise? And I would like also to ask you, what's your, like, not workflow, but maybe the percentage of use of programs like Photoshop and PixInsight?
Yeah, so the programs I use, PixInsight, Photoshop, AstroPixel Processor. I do most of my pre-processing in PixInsight and AstroPixel Processor, APP especially if I'm doing mosaics, but also gradient removal I do there a lot of the time. And then post-processing I do almost entirely in Photoshop because I edit in a way kind of where I don't use traditional color palettes, and I have like all of my layers for my narrowband channels all separated out so that I can turn them on and off, or I can kind of change their intensity at will. And I can also do noise reduction specifically to a narrowband channel at will. Like, for example, a lot of people wonder how to make the oxygen 3 in their images pop. And you can't really do that very easily if you make an HOO image and all of those components are integrated together into just one tricolor photo. You can't separate them out or change their brightness super easily. So Photoshop and having layer-based editing is super powerful for that. For noise reduction, I use Topaz a lot. Also, the new version of Noise Exterminator is pretty good. For a lot of things, though, it just comes down to like getting as many hours of exposure and shooting as fast as physically possible. Like having the triple Ross's system, or I always pick telescopes that are reduced and as quick as I can because I need as much time as possible. And my exposure times are also pretty different than most people's, especially for narrowband. I'll sometimes expose like 20 or 30 minutes for my subframes, even at like f3 or f2 from dark skies for narrowband. And I find that helps a lot, like with objects near the read noise limit, because otherwise you'll get a lot of banding or like gigantic modeling noise. So you just have to expose for longer, like in the cases of new discoveries or super faint objects.
Okay, that's an interesting approach, because nowadays people seem to be shifting to shorter exposure times, so that you are going the opposite direction, no? So exposing longer, especially on faint objects. That's something interesting.
Yeah, especially if you're in dark skies, like you can go a lot longer than you think. And if you're deleting the stars anyways, like for narrowband images, then you don't really care about clipping. It's not actually an issue because you're just going to get rid of all the
stars will be blurred, but you will miss it and you will focus on the starless image.
Yeah, exactly. And you can just HDR as well. You know, if you end up clipping somewhere else, it's worth for the faint detail, I think.
And maybe you can take just shorter exposures to take good images of the stars, maybe, and then
that's also a thing that happens a lot. I usually use my RGB stars for the most part, where I'm still using short exposures, like 3 to 5 minutes. So I just use those stars for the most part.
Great. Are you happy with your triple Rasa setup?
Yes and no. It's a beast to deal with automating and editing data from, as well as tip tilting and back focusing. It's an ongoing project that it's still not like perfectly dialed in yet, and it takes a lot of time to edit photos from. So I need to figure out some better way to automate it and like some other scripts to edit the data, because not a lot of programs are built to handle that many scopes at once or making it easy to add all the data together. But it does make good results.
Yeah. So, but it would not be a setup that we would recommend to someone that is new.
No, it's not easy. It's very difficult to use. It would suck if I didn't live next to the scope. Otherwise, I would be asking someone else to change my filters like every night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. With your success, you have had the opportunity to inspire others. How important is the dissemination of astronomy and astrophotography to you, like outreach? Do you have any plans or projects related to education or dissemination of astronomy?
Yeah, so I think like from the very beginning of me doing astronomy, sharing it was always a part of it. Like the first thing I tried to do was take a photo to share to my family or friends what I could see. So I think, astronomy is a hobby that's meant to be shared always. So super critical for me. I don't have any outward like large projects planned for disseminating stuff. I just kind of continue to share what I capture and share what I'm doing. I suppose you could call the observatory disseminating the hobby in a way, because it's trying to make it more accessible to other people. But yeah, astronomy is about sharing it to other people.
Yeah, I agree absolutely with you. We are also in a public outreach observatory, so yeah, we also love that part of our hobby, and I think sharing the views of the magnificent universe that we have surrounding us, it's one of the beautiful parts of our hobby. And yeah, as you said, no, family, friends, and also general public, no, if we have the chance to share the beauties of the universe, that's inspiring. And if you do in the way you do that, you can also involve new discoveries. I think it's even more inspiring, especially for new generations of kids and children.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, right. Which are the key factors when you start an astrophotography project? I mean, related to the framing, to the object specs, total exposure time. Do you have any specific planning for all your images, or do you sometimes go with your feelings or mood?
Yeah, well, at the start, it's usually a feeling-based thing. Like, I have my own personal preference for what I like to shoot. I don't really do galaxies or dark nebula, and so my projects are all centered around like stuff that I find exciting, which is mostly emission nebula and especially supernova remnants. So anytime there's something like that, I know I'm going to make a project around it. And it's a weird thing to juggle as well with discovering things, because I have to dedicate a certain amount of my time to surveying and then a certain amount of my time to actually photographing. And so I kind of split up my scheduling based on that, or whether or not I have an ongoing project or I need to find something new. There's always like a logistical time juggle around that. But then it's usually, once I have something, just as much narrowband exposure as possible for most objects. And I'll stack, like after the end of a new moon cycle, I'll usually spend at least a month on an image, and then I'll evaluate where I'm at, and then spend another cycle on it, and so forth, until I get to where I'm happy with the noise level enough to process.
Okay, and how do you handle that bunch of data that you will have stored on your devices? Because that's a lot of data.
Yeah, so far it's all on Dropbox. Then I stack everything. I keep all of my raw frames, and I keep my master stacks. And then I kind of move everything onto hard drives. And I have a big problem now with the amount of hard drives I have. I have like 10 of them in my RV, and one of them just broke recently. So I have to go get my data recovered, but I'm gonna get a NAS soon. Okay. Yeah, so that I can like build up a lot of data to store and keep it in a redundant way where I'm not afraid I'm gonna lose it. But yeah, that's handling the data is a big issue.
Yeah, I think we are in the same mood. Yeah, I'm also thinking on investing on a NAS, because I think we need the duplicity, no? We need to preserve our raw frames, our original data, not to be delayed or by accident to have some issue. So I think it's important for people that are like investing lots of hours into many different targets to have all their original data stored. So
yeah. I haven't done it yet, because I know that the first NAS I get, I'm going to fill entirely with all my data I already have.
How many teras would be that?
It's probably like 80 terabytes.
80?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just like kicking the can down the road, and I know if I get another NAS, I'm going to fill it up eventually, and then it's the same problem, just I'm buying more hard drives.
Okay.
So yeah, I should have picked a different hobby if I didn't want to have a massive data problem, but yeah, here I am. Maybe I'll just start storing the stacks instead. I think I could free up a lot of my space if I do that, but it's risky. Yeah.
So I would like to ask you also, astrophotography has undergone significant changes in recent years with advances in technology and software. So how do you see the evolution of this discipline in the near future, and where do you think it's headed, and what role will the artificial intelligence and the AI play in it?
Yeah, I think in general, the direction things are going in is to lower the barriers of entry, because anyone who makes gear, like provides a service, you just want to make it as easy as possible to get into, because I think everyone loves space, but the barrier of getting a telescope and the knowledge barrier make it inaccessible to most people. So things like smart telescopes, I foresee being a bigger thing probably in the future. Maybe some kind of like AI-based post-processing. Like all of the technical aspects of the hobby, I wouldn't mind seeing like go away to get more people into it. There are some other interesting things, maybe like AI flats. There's like a whole bunch of different AI things you could do to get the annoying parts out of the process, or maybe like AI Starlink removal to get all the trails out of your images. Like those are all tools that could probably be made fairly easily.
Yeah, I would also appreciate to have all that parts automated and then just only focus on the processing part, like the parts that you put something personal on the image, no? Because we lose lots of time just filtering the best data and also just stacking the data, and I think that would save our time for another matters, I would say. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to see more AI and stuff in the processing or pre-processing scripts, like all of the stuff that goes over most people's heads. I would like to see get AI'd away in the future. Yeah,
we hope so. We'll see.
Yes.
Okay, and let's talk about the social part of this hobby, also social networks and awards. What do you think about the social pressure and awards related to astrophotography?
I think it depends. Like your mileage may vary depending on how you look at them. For me, they're just kind of like a fun, cool thing. Of course, there is sometimes like a business incentive to like get an award and show like, oh, I was able to do this nice photo. So there's that other aspect that I get that's maybe not so common amongst most people. But yeah, I think a lot of people also probably take it in a negative way. Like they kind of attach too much of their ego to an award. I think that's maybe not the right way to look at it. Just, it's like a fun thing. It's a fun challenge. Also, I think it could be a good way to like be a self-motivator to improve as well, in a positive way. So, I mean, it just depends on the person. I think you can interpret it in a positive way or a negative way.
Yeah, I think also I share with you the vision that you should be focusing on your work, no, on the results you achieve, more than the recognition that comes from the outside. No? So if you are just focusing on the outside, you will maybe lose the essence of our hobby. No, that at least, in my opinion, is just to enjoy and discover the amazing beauties that are surrounding us. And I would like also to ask you about, for example, the iPod, the NASA page that is sharing every day one single image. Sometimes these images are from amateurs. Do you think that this page can be like, or is it the best quality images of reference, or is just another, so the focus of this page is another? So because we can see sometimes that people can get even obsessed to get their iPod.
Yeah.
And from time to time this never happens, or it only happens once, or whatever. No?
Yeah, a lot of people get burnt up about it, I think. Yeah, a lot of people do have a misunderstanding, I think, that it is an astrophotography competition, which it's totally not. It's like a journalistic article that gets written every day that's attached to a photo. And it's really just if the people who select it feel like writing an article or a story about what you've shared, which does not necessarily need to be the technical greatest achievement in astrophotography in order to be worthy of getting an article written about it. So yeah, I would say focus on taking photos that are more worthy of having something being written about them, or like craft your submission in a way that like helps them figure out like, oh, I could write an article about this, instead of trying to focus everything on making the best photo possible, because it is not a competition for that.
That's true. So we have other places to send images for competitions, like for example, the Greenwich Astronomy Photographer of the Year, and also Astrobean Image of the Day, and also Top Picks. Do you send images to any of those competitions or astrophotography pages?
Yeah, I submit everything to Astrobean Image of the Day, just because I like browsing Image of the Day a lot. I like looking at the top picks. It's I get a lot of inspiration sometimes by looking through and seeing like what people are shooting at any given moment and seeing like what kind of quality is possible. So I take part in it because I enjoy like consuming it a lot. Royal Greenwich I also submit to just because I think it's cool. It's a cool competition. It's like the largest one, and if you win, then your images are like in a gallery in London, which I think is very fun. So I submit for that reason. Yeah.
We had also the chance to visit that gallery, and I would recommend everyone to visit the Greenwich in London, the astronomy showroom. It's quite amazing. And just to finish, next goals in future, both professional and personal.
Yeah, so professional, I would like to expand the observatory more. I also want to try to find new filters to take images in, like not the traditional SHO, stuff like helium or neon or argon. Like I already have a helium-1 filter, which I've tried using and it's been not good so far, but I'd like to try more of that stuff and the weird kind of off-band filters that no one's tried before. That's probably the most exciting thing to me. For personal stuff, I would like to get into mountaineering more.
Wow.
Yeah, I would like to focus on my fitness a lot. I would also like to, I've been trying to learn how to do other creative stuff like draw or paint. I would really like to get good at that too, because I think getting good in those other disciplines helps a lot for astrophotography as well, just being able to, compose or edit detail. Because I mean, editing an astrophoto is like editing a painting, essentially. So I would like to understand more about that stuff, like artistically. But yeah, those are my other goals.
Okay. So you have been really welcome here to Prades and the Prades Astronomical part. We hope you have enjoyed these hours here with us and also the surroundings. The weather has been quite cloudy and a bit rainy these days, but at least I hope you have seen the scenery that it's hidden behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's beautiful out here. Yeah, Spain is great.
Okay, so thank you very much for visiting us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
En la 26ª convención de la Agrupación Astronómica de Sabadell se dieron lugar diferentes ponencias, talleres y debates. Y entre los ponentes encontramos a Jordi Freixanet, Ignacio Llorens, Nanda Rea, Jordi Ortega, Cayetana Saiz, Vicent Peris y Alicia Lozano, o el mismo Aleix Roig y a Bray Falls como invitado destacado.
Quina boja idea vau tenir, quina crazy idea per muntar aquest camp de futbol ple de telescopis. Qui va ser el boig que va tenir aquesta idea? Gràcies. Thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely need a couple of crazy people to do this. Even if that
Después de las ponencias visitamos las instalaciones de la Agrupación Astronómica de Sabadell, con su telescopio de 2 metros de distancia focal y medio metro de apertura sobre una montura ecuatorial alemana. Daba fin de esta manera este día y esta visita de Bray Falls por tierras catalanas y españolas. Muchas gracias, Bray, por compartir con nosotros tus experiencias, conocimientos e inquietudes en este mundo de la astrofotografía.
Hello. So I'm finally back at the observatory after a nice long flight home. I have to say thank you so much for having me out to Barcelona. It was so cool getting to see the city, see the observatories there, and to be able to give a talk to everyone at the event. It was a lot of fun, and I'm so excited to come back out next year for the total solar eclipse. Thank you all for watching.
Gracias por vuestro tiempo, un saludo y nos vemos en el próximo vídeo.